Getting on the podium during a state competition is something to be celebrated, but can you imagine being up there 10 times just in high school? That's what Rachel Sauder Kinsman accomplished in track and cross country, setting a state record at 16 to having mono the next track season to getting disqualified her senior year. Rachel has ran through many ups and downs. In today's episode, we go over Rachel's exponential running career at Archbold High School. We get to hear from Rachel's experiences firsthand as well as her coaches and how they became a big part of her success. I am Tess Ames, and this is Run Like Rachel. Starting freshman year, Rachel had to run the 7-lap exercise for volleyball. The intention for this run was to show who was preparing over the summer for the fall season. Volleyball coach Shar Sharp gave Rachel the idea to run cross country.
After that 7-lap run, Shar Sharp said, I think you need to go talk to Coach Forward. And I told her, well, I really don't want to run 3.1 miles. And she said, well, let's think about it.
After weeks of thinking about her options, she went back to Coach Sharp to tell her the news. This is what cross-country coach Chuck Forward had to say about Rachel coming to him to join the team.
I could tell right away that she was going to probably be pretty good.
They were both very supportive. And that was one thing. When Shar asked me about cross country, I said, well, I don't want to quit volleyball. And she said, no. She goes, you don't have to quit volleyball. She goes, we'll make it work. I would go to cross country and do my workout right after school while volleyball was doing their conditioning. And then usually when we were done with cross country, they were getting into their skill stuff. And so it worked out really well.
Rachel was new to running, but was eager to learn a lot.
That freshman year, I really knew nothing about running. I was learning a lot.
Rachel qualified for the state meet as a freshman.
Well, anytime as a coach, you have people that advance to that level, and especially, as a freshman, it makes you feel good, both for them and for you. I think it helps that, people understand that if you work hard, good things will happen.
She remembers being extremely naive. She was grateful to have an experience on a big stage like that.
Being that young and just being able to run and have fun.
Being a freshman going to state was intimidating, but having a good support system through the men's team was very beneficial. She learned how to handle that big stage through the men's team and Coach Forward.
Our guys team was really good. We had a really good guys team that year, and they made it to state as a team. And so I kind of had them to lean on. A lot of upperclassmen, they were very kind to me, took me under their wing, and really taught me a lot, along with Coach Forward. He had been in that position before. He had people had gone to state before. So just learning from them, I think, was a big thing.
The transportation to the state meet was a bit difficult that year.
For the guys team that qualified also, we had some football players that doubled. We went to the playoff game Friday night, piled into Chuck Forward's van, and after the football game, we headed down to Columbus.
And we were interested back in the other sports, and then, that's kind of what then took off later.
Running at state was definitely a new experience for Rachel.
When you get to the state meet, everybody is good. Everybody is at that quality. And so I think for me, that was one of the first times just to be surrounded by so many talented athletes.
She ran a good race and placed 7th in the state of Ohio that year. Rachel ran nothing longer than the 400-meter race in junior high. High school was quite the opposite. She was looking forward to a new fresh start in high school. To be prepared during the cold off-season, she would swim on her own at the Bryan YMCA to keep in shape for the track season. She excelled in track in the spring of that year. All that off-season training paid off as she placed first in the 1,600-meter and the 3,200-meter races as a freshman. Here's how Rachel's track coach, Janet Miller, felt about her winning that race.
Was it really shocking? No. Did I expect her to do that? I had a pretty good idea. I didn't want to put pressure on her and say I expected it, but based on her times and her splits and what I knew that she could do, I knew that she had a good shot at both. And it was a joy. Freshmen people don't do that typically.
Rachel says she was still naive when at the state competition, just like in the fall. She felt more competition from the other area schools around her during the season, which helped her stay competitive. With the extra competition, she walked into the state meet expecting not even to place.
You run the 1,600 meters first, and so I won that, and that was a huge accomplishment.
She figured that she needed to celebrate, but then quickly refocused to run her next race.
Once an athlete wins whatever event they're doing in the moment, you have to celebrate in the moment. You have to come back and say, okay, now we have something else to do. But I didn't really need to do that with her. Like, she probably focused well beyond her years.
At that time, I had no idea what I had accomplished. I'd ran a race, I had done well.
There were a lot of people competing in that track meet from Archbold. The large group was exciting for Rachel, having a quite large, supportive team. She excelled in track in the spring. Sophomore year, Rachel was determined to place better than 7th in the cross-country state meet. She pushed herself to work hard than the year before.
It was all myself. After that first year and seeing what I could do, I wanted to keep challenging myself. Coach Forward kept challenging myself. The guys kept challenging me, in workouts and that kind of thing. And so I kind of caught that bug, or that running bug kind of thing, and was like, what can I do? Where can I go with this?
Coach Forward ran with Rachel during practices so she did not have to run by herself.
I had always kind of, from the time I started coaching, I always kind of ran with a team. I enjoyed working out, and it helped me to keep better track of what everybody was doing. I used to get up alongside her, and I'd kind of use my hand to signal her to come on, get up, stay up here with me, and, make her work hard. And she did it. She never complained. And I don't know, it's just one of those things that I did.
There were boys she would tag along with as well. Rachel's favorite part about sophomore year was being at state. She loved the hard work that paid off to make the podium. She ran against a friend who had gone to camps with her in the summer.
Really good race between the two of us, and I appreciated that. I didn't have as much competition that year. I appreciated the ability to run with somebody.
Rachel placed second that year, giving her her first of many podium experiences. With Rachel placing first last year in both track events, she knew she would have to work hard to achieve that again.
Well, that was her goal. Did I push her to do that? No. By then, there's so much pressure. People expect amazing if you're amazing, and there was a lot more pressure to do it again, but that wasn't from me.
She put all the pressure on herself.
I honestly never felt it from the coaches. Did we talk about it? Yes, we talked about those possibilities, and I think that was good for me to talk about that as we led up to it. But there was never a pressure, not from my family.
She was asked lots of questions by people around her about achieving first in both events 2 years in a row. She had the desire and determination to achieve this great feat again.
More into the 4x8 relay that year, and I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed being a part of a relay.
Beyond all of her expectations, she broke the state record time, running 11:02 in the 2-mile run.
One of those things that was never even on our radar, not something we were shooting for. It just happened on that day. It was a fun feeling. Again, not knowing that I was even, on that pace or anything like that. So having the announcer come across and say that it was a state record, that was pretty cool.
Oh, of course, Janet was crying. Just so happy for her.
With breaking the record as a sophomore, she realized that she had 2 more years to achieve even more. Rachel placed first again in both events that year. In Rachel's junior year of cross country, a switch flipped. She began to prioritize and play around with the idea of running at the next level.
I started to get, some college interest, and letters came in. That switch flipped, and thought, okay, this might be something I can do for a little while.
She remembers this season having a big build-up while she was anticipating another podium finish and having a great learning year.
Another year older, another year stronger. And I think for me, just learning more about running, about myself, what I can do, what I need to do. And I think it was just a big learning year for me.
While running on a horse track, Rachel had a really good race day. Once crossing the finish line, Rachel felt relieved.
But with running, there's a lot that can happen. And so you have to have a good day. Things have to go well, and you just never know what that's going to be like. So you can't take those good days for granted. Had a really good day that junior year, and that just really flipped a switch for me in the cross-country world.
She felt the crowd roar.
That was the first time I had actually heard them. The other years, I don't think I didn't think about it. That year I heard them, and that was really, really cool.
Rachel had placed first at the state championship meet for the first time in her cross-country career.
Well, I'm very happy. She deserved it. I mean, she had tremendous work ethic. She had a lot of natural ability, but, you don't get in those positions without putting a lot of time and effort into it.
After coming down from an amazing cross country season, she knew she would have to work hard to achieve another first place finish in track. Rachel ran into a bit of a health problem junior year that almost cost her her season.
I had mono.
She was such a leader. She wasn't allowed to come to practice because she couldn't not do something and because it was just too taxing to be there and walk to the track.
I did not run. I did not compete the whole season until our league meet.
But people weren't kind. Like they, first of all, had no idea what that meant at all. And nobody knew. And she just had to wait.
Rachel found it difficult to stay still and not compete because she knew that she had many more goals to accomplish.
But it was really good for me to just realize what a gift it is to be doing the things that I'm doing. And so, like I said, God had a different plan, taught me some patience, gave me a different perspective on things.
It was really good. I think she learned how to focus more and deal with hard things in different ways.
And so I was cleared to run.
She was cleared to race just a week before the league competition. Rachel ran one race that day.
For the first time in a long time, I got beat. And so, but again, it was just those character building times that I look back and think I am so thankful for.
After getting beat at leagues, she got beat at districts and even got beat at regionals. She still made it to state, but she was not where she had hoped to be or where she was just that year before.
And that was on purpose. Like we set up a plan. This is what you're going to do. This is how fast you're going to run. All you need to do is qualify. If we run hard in districts, it's going to not help state. And she did it. She could have not listed, but she did it. That was an incredible moment. It was a completely different race for her. You know, she had a big heart.
I made it to state, but I was not where I was, the 2 years prior. And so going into that state meet, I think I was just thankful to be there. I knew what I had gone through. Not everybody else did. And so I knew what I had gone through to get to that state meet. And at that meet, I ran the races that I knew how to run and just ran my race.
This track meet was a little different. She ran the 800-meter race purely on her own dedication, desire, and inner strength. She wanted to be a part of that podium again. Normally, during the 3,200-meter race, she would break apart right out of the gate and run at her own pace. This race, however, she stuck with everyone. She ran very well and had a great finish. Rachel placed first in both of those events for the third year in a row. Senior year cross-country season was a bit out of the ordinary. Her times were dropping, and she just kept getting faster and faster. She put even more pressure on herself than the year before.
When you win 1 year, the expectation, I think, is there. I did not feel it on the outside, but more from myself. Like I wanted to do it again. It's a great feeling. I've worked really hard. It's your senior year, and that's what you want to do.
She had come to me that morning. It was colder than usual, and
I had wore tights underneath my uniform.
she asked about wearing a pair of tights that were not a single color. The rule book, basically said if you're a member of a team, it has to be a solid color.
And I was an individual again this year.
So I told her, I said, well, when we get there, we'll have the official that's checking uniforms and stuff. We'll ask him about it. I specifically asked him, if there was a problem with having a multi-colored tight on. And he told both of us. He says, no, there's no problem. He says, as long as it's not advertising.
And we're like, nope, they don't have logos. They're just different colors. And they were like, okay. Because at that time, you couldn't have any advertisement. You couldn't have logos. It could be, the 2-inch by 2-inch in one place.
So we said, okay.
Warming up. They're going to the starting line. And she takes her sweats off. And I said, oh no. And I started yelling to try to get her attention. And Scoop is like, what is your problem? I said, she's disqualified. He's like, the race hasn't even started. I said, she's disqualified. That's an illegal uniform. So I stood there, cried through that whole race.
The gun goes off and I run the race.
And they came up to me about 3/4 of the way through the race and told me she was going to be disqualified. And you can imagine how I felt.
Had a great race and come across the finish line, and I see Coach Forward like directly in front of me as I cross, and he has this look on his face. It was this look of unknown and panic, and he's like, he pulled me aside and he's like, "You've been disqualified." And I'm like, trying to think back, like, what did I do on the course? Did I miss something? It was because of the colored tights I had on. You know, we were trying to find different officials, and he was trying his best to find them.
We went through the whole process. The official that was checking uniforms lied, and he claimed he never even saw us, never spoke to us. And we had proof that the other girl actually filled out a paper stating that she, heard him tell us this, the very thing. And
I was a mess. I did not handle it very well at the beginning.
Before I saw her, Mr. Forward came up to me and he said, "Go get her and take her away from all these people. Get her in the parking lot." So she and I spent probably 2 hours in the parking lot after that race, crying and talking and talking and crying, and to keep her away from the media and other people.
She took it better than I did. Very, very disappointing, for an adult to do that to somebody, especially a young girl.
So I did not get to stand on the podium my senior year.
Like I said, she should at least she should be recognized in the record book. She already missed out on the award ceremonies and everything else. It's very disappointing to me when you have the state association always talking about ethics, integrity, sportsmanship, all these types of things. And what they did to her was almost unbelievable. But they were kind of in a dilemma because they'd already made this girl a state champion. The other girl, when Rachel had won it easily, I can't tell you how bad I felt. I still, like I said, to this day, out of all the things that I had in my coaching career, that was by far the worst. And just one of those things that, it's hard to believe that it happened, but it happened. I think if more people knew that there was an official out there that had basically lied about even speaking to us, it may have helped. But she's very deserving and had a tremendous career and is a tremendous person.
It was a huge learning experience for me.
The whole disqualification was a great experience for her. It taught her that she could do everything in her power and there would still be things out of her control.
I was devastated. I was worried. I'm like, I have colleges that are looking at me. How is this going to affect that?
Fortunately, all of the college coaches showing interest in Rachel understood the situation and did not hold it against her. Her disqualification was talked about all over the nation. The situation had brought so much controversy that Sports Illustrated even wrote about it. Rachel remembered having a supportive community and how Archbold was always behind her.
The school was amazing. Coach Ford was amazing. Sharp was amazing. Mark Fruth at that time, he was our superintendent. He was, part of it. A lot of support. And again, just life lessons of there are things that we cannot control. And how do we react to those? How do we respond to those? And I think that was a huge learning experience for me.
In shambles, Rachel left the cross-country meet to make her way to the volleyball game. The team was in the regional finals, hoping to qualify for state.
Crying. I was still crying, driving, hopped in our van that time and went to the regional volleyball game. Sharp looked at me. She goes, "You good?" I said, "Yep." And, we played, we won, we went to state that year.
The game was very important to Rachel. It reminded her that there was always going to be a next thing and another day. After a difficult fall, Rachel had to refocus herself to get geared in for the track season. During this season, she was not looking too far ahead of her future. She had already committed to Auburn University to run, but was very content and excited to run track at Archbold one last time. She set a goal for herself to keep looking towards.
I think I was more focused on that fourth time. We had known that nobody had ever done that before in the mile and 2 mile.
She stopped thinking about the devastation that happened in the fall and was more focused on being the first person to achieve that many first-place finishes. A funny coincidence happened while running the 2-mile.
The girl that ended up getting the state championship after I was disqualified in cross country, we shared a lane on the track. And she was so nervous. And I told her, I said, you know what? I said, it's not your fault. I said, it was not your fault at all. Gave her a hug. And, that.
Rachel had achieved the title that year. Her name was now in the books as 4-time state champion in the 1,600-meter race and the 3,200-meter race.
That 4 times thing, I was always off somewhere in the stadium kind of by myself when she was running, taking splits and so on. And I remember sitting there crying, wow.
Along her high school career, she had been taught very many lessons. Cross country taught her discipline.
I think the disqualification taught me more than winning anything did.
Track taught her how to persevere through pressure.
When I had that success my freshman year, that's hard. That's hard to continue to either replicate that or do better. And I think that just taught me how to rein in myself and not get too far ahead and thinking too far ahead. I had to really focus on each race and each meet and not be thinking about state or whatever, at the beginning of that season, because that was a long ways away. And as my junior year showed, there's a lot that can happen in between.
Auburn gave her a new look on life. She knew eventually she would like to get out of Archbold. She flew to Houston, Texas, and Tucson, Arizona to go on official visits there. But when she got to Auburn, it was 80 degrees in February. As soon as she stepped foot on campus, she knew right away that it was the place for her.
The team was great. The coaches just really, really good. Yeah, just had a connection right off.
I believe that it's a high school coach's job to help a high school athlete get a scholarship. Kelly Sullivan recruited her. He called me back one day and he said, I'm going to offer Rachel a chance to sign.
I canceled my other visits and I went to Auburn.
She was a tremendous athlete, worked very hard. I don't know if she ever got the recognition she deserved. All the awards she won down south. If you talk to track coaches from down south, they're all very aware of Rachel.
Rachel is now the head track and cross-country coach at Archbold High School. Being coached by 2 very knowledgeable people taught her very many things she puts towards her own coaching style.
Both of them, I would say yes. Like I said, I just had a great experience here in high school. You could tell he was a guys coach mostly. He was very goal-oriented, hard work. We worked hard. We did those things, which I appreciated. I needed that at that point, and I liked that.
I'm glad that, she's back, helping other people try to follow in her footsteps.
With Janet, it was making sure our athletes are seen, making sure that we touch these athletes each day. Making sure that they are valued. And I think that came from both Chuck and Janet. I feel they both valued their athletes. And that is one thing that I really strive to do as a coach is make these kids feel valued. They're working hard. I want their hard work to be acknowledged and seen, and just for them to be seen and heard.
Hard work and dedication is really shown through Rachel's entire high school running career. Archbold High School is beyond blessed to experience her excellence and call her one of the greats. Our thanks to Rachel Sauder Kinsman, Janet Miller, and Chuck Forward for taking time to interview for this piece. I'm Tess Ames, and this has been a production of Archcom Media. Subscribe for more great content.